Now let's take News Corporation as another example. We all know News Corporation, the Murdoch Empire. It operates in 9 different countries, in 9 different media, on all 6 continents. It includes Sky Latin America, digital satellite services, L Channel Fox, and many, many other corporations. In fact, on top of all that, it owns 120 newspapers and 30 or 40 corporations. Now, until last year, no politician tried to touch the power of the Murdoch Empire. But at the moment in Britain, we're seeing something quite new. We're seeing the politicians attacking and trying to dismantle the practices of this vast corporation. But what does this power give to these corporations? Well, you time the number of minutes in every hour that you read adverts, and you see adverts on the television. 6, 7, 8. Who controls them all? There are 4 major news companies reporting news on the television. We are living in a world, whether we like it or not, that is quite totalitarian. It's controlled by the power of advertising. And to a very great extent, you see, those who control those companies have vast power. And so society's culture is dominated by global capitalism. And that includes its educational system. And it's the changes in the educational system that I want to spend most of my time. But you see, the concentration of power doesn't lie with the politicians. For the myth of democracy is that we elect those people with power. But let me look at this diagram here. I'm sorry you can't see the whole of it because their inserted picture is in the way. But look, that disc represents any one of the countries in the global world. In the middle and at the top is that global core. And around the global core are the international agencies like the World Bank, like UNESCO, like the European Union. And it's only on the 3rd level do we get to the national. That's where we start electing people with power, at the 3rd level, not the 1st or the 2nd level. So the myth of democracy is that we elect those with power, but we only elect those with less than ultimate power. Then the last 2 rings are the regional and the one that you can't see, the local. But you see, the point is that for as long as those people in the core provide what the people on the outside want, then they're safe. So you think of the Murdoch Empire, and it provides television entertainment, exposure to news, exposure to sport, film, and enjoyment, and advertising. But when this is coupled with cheap food, and more you're seeing it here, restaurants opening everywhere, then there's a lot of people in the world who are very satisfied with their life. And you see, if people have enough income and they have enough food, there's a very big question we have to ask. Why should they get up and fight for the rights of those whom they don't know? Why should the wealthy half of the world fight for the rights of the poor? So the fundamental question one wants to ask is, who needs democracy? If what we're seeing is a core providing and satisfying 3 billion people. And you see, for that 3 billion people, the city of God, the new city, may just be appearing on the horizon. It's the other 3 billion who live on $2 a day or under. For them, the city of God or the city of man is a long way off. And you see, the global core only exists to make huge profits so that it can sell and consume. It's not there to be concerned about the other 3 billion. But in order to do it, it needs two things. You see, it needs natural and human resources. And they are necessary for the global core to survive. And that brings me to the questions about professional education. In order to survive, the global core needs natural and human resources. And so what do we see? We see natural resources being utilized by vast amounts by the companies who are seeking to make profit. Water and oil pumped from beneath the Earth's surface, timber cut down, natural habitat being destroyed, the world's climate being put at risk, the planet's resources are being used in a rather uncaring manner. And George Monbiot wrote a book that summarizes this democratic society we live in. He called it the captive state. Politicians are captive. And it was here in Brazil in 1992 that the United Nations Conference on Human Resources, Environment and Development, adopted the Rio Declaration with its 27 declarations. It was reaffirming a conference held in Korea 25 years previously. But when the Delors report was published by UNESCO just 10 or so years ago, 15 years ago, learning the treasure within. It popularized a lot about learning. It popularized learning to do, learning to be, learning to live together, and learning to know. What it omitted was learning to care for the planet. And this was crucial considering what's happened since. And a recent book on the subject called Environmental Education in the 21st Century highlights the problem. It says environmental education is a field characterized by a paradox. Whilst there are few people in the world that doubt its urgency and importance, the importance of learning to live in sustainable ways, environmental education holds nowhere near the priority position in formal schooling around the world that this demand would suggest. But you know as well as I do, and from the diagrams I've just produced, it's the state who doesn't have ultimate power over those resources, even over its own resources. It's those large corporations and concerns. So, the next point is perhaps we are destroying the world before we can build that city of man. And so now